This interesting infographic has been floating around and I decided to discover how accurate it is. It says the fighters 35 and over are just 2 and 28 in title fights within the flyweight to welterweight divisions. Let's see how real or fake the stat is. Starting off from lightest to heaviest at 125, 35-year-old Joseph Benavidez lost to Davison Figueiredo. Joe was favored to win because he was seen as the next best under Demetrius Johnson. Next, Joey 2 times Benavidez lost again to Figueiredo via violent domination. Unfortunately for Figueiredo, he turned 35 and lost to Brandon Moreno via round 3 TKO doctor stoppage in their quadrilogy. Moving on to 135, Uriah Faber lost the trilogy to Dominic Cruz, but years later, Cruz would bend the knee to Triple C Henry Cejudo. TJ Dillashaw would lose to Aljamain Sterling. On one hand, TJ only had one arm. On the other, at 145, Kenny Florian lost to Jose Aldo. Frankie Edgar lost to Max Holloway. The Korean Zombie got brutalized by Alexander Volkanovski. And Josh Emmett lost to Yair Rodriguez for an interim belt. Next is 155, where Tony Ferguson was completely destroyed by Justin Gaethje. Tony was the fave and seen as the boogeyman of the division. Michael Chandler lost to Charles Oliveira. He came the closest to winning so far, but the champ had a name. Lastly, at 170, Pat Miletich lost to Carlos Newton. He was the first fighter 35 or over to lose a title fight below middleweight. Gil Castillo lost to Matt Hughes via round 1 TKO doctor stoppage. This was controversial because the fight was stopped due to a seemingly small cut which was caused by an accidental headbutt. Tyron the Chosen One Woodley got the first win at 35 when he beat Damian Maia. However, Maia was even older at 39, so you can say this doesn't mean much. But Woodley did beat a younger guy next in Darren Till. Woodley was 36 and Till didn't land a single significant strike. Woodley would then fight Kamaru Usman. Despite being the fave and seemingly better everywhere, he was thoroughly dominated. Woodley seemed to fall off a cliff and didn't win another round in the UFC. Jorge Masvidal lost a thrilling battle against Usman. Because the fight was so close and entertaining, they ran it back and Street Jesus got baptized. Usman was the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter and was lapping his division. Leon Edwards was next to Usman and had already beaten and was favored to do so again. However, he turned 35. He lost by a miraculous comeback KO in round 5. Due to the manner in which he lost, Usman was favored to win the trilogy. He didn't. Here you can see Usman was a big fave over Leon in the second and third fights. If you bet against Usman to lose, based on him being 35, you would have cashed in at plus odds. As you can see, 2 and 28 isn't accurate, but there's still only 2 wins, which belong to 170, the heaviest weight class included. Even when the older fighter was the fave or seemingly better on paper, they almost always lost. I'm not saying they're losing because they hit a magical number, but rather, as they age, attributes such as speed and athleticism decline. Between the inception of the infographic to now, Cejudo would lose to Aljo. The odds were close, but in many places Cejudo closed as a fave, meaning you could have bet against his age and would have cashed in on plus odds. Looking towards the future, here are some fighters who are nearing or already past 35. Volk is 34 but will be 35 for his next fight. He'd be favored over everyone at 145, but one could argue Topuria has a decent chance and is his most well-rounded challenger. An upset would fit the pattern. If he wants the Islam rematch at 155, he wouldn't be favored to win. Colby is 35 and maybe a slight underdog if he does get gifted a title shot against Leon. Bilal is also 35 and wouldn't be favored either. Dustin and Justin are both 34. The winner of the BMF fight may get a title shot and they'll likely be 35 by then. Conor is 34 and if he gets gifted a title shot off one win, he'll be 35. All 3 are unlikely to beat Islam. Now some people may think it's weird to limit the stat from 125 to 170, but there's a big difference in the number of fighters 35 and over in their heavier weight classes and their success rates in title fights. Just thinking of the past few champions, Anderson won title fights up to the age of 37, Bisping won gold at 37, GSP won at 36, Pereira became champ at 35, DC won all his title fights above 35 and up to 39, Jan won the belt at 37 and lost it to 42-year-old Glover. Verdun was 37, Stipe won until he was 37, Francis and John both won at 35. If you look on the women's side, there isn't more success for older fighters. Carla lost to Wei Li, Roxanne Modafferi lost to Nico Montano, Chev beat Carmouche and Murphy, Nunes beat Holly and GDR. The only win is from Nunes recently over Aldana, but Aldana was also 35 and even slightly older. Holly lost to GDR in a controversial fight. Cyborg beat Tanya Evinger and Holly. Looking ahead, Amanda Lemos is 36 and isn't favored to beat Wei Li. Chev is 35 but will be favored to get her belt back from Alexa Grasso, although another loss wouldn't be surprising. While it's understandable why Chev is favored in the rematch, given her age, there is some value on Alexa. So the record is 2 and 21 with both wins coming from Woodley. If you exclude Woodley versus Maia because they are both 35 or older, the record becomes 1 and 20. The WMMA record is 1 and 10, or 0 and 9 if you don't count Nunes versus Aldana. Combined you get 3 and 31, or 1 and 29. Please like, subscribe, and comment how you think upcoming fights will measure up to this stat.